Okay, give me a second. Okay, so what do we want to do? What do we want to do actually? Do we want to talk more about React Router? This could be a good time perhaps to go to the curriculum. So first I'll open up the curriculum. Day 4. So this is our curriculum doc. But then in the examples, I also wanted to show the React Router example because that's the finished version of what I was building in class today. So let's go to Uniform Curriculum 7, Day 4, examples. Let's open up React Router example. So we'll open that over here. How about? See what that looks like. Great, let's move that over here. Okay, so how about we talk a little bit more about use outlet context? Does that sound useful? You just kind of review everything. If I'm looking at main.jsx, you'll see router provider is our main thing now. Might as well take this out.
Is used router context the same as the use context?
Not exactly. So use context is a general React thing. You're going to import that from React itself like this, use context. And if you recall, when you do use context, you have to provide the specific context you're working with because there could be multiple. When it comes to use outlet context, it looks like this, where first in app, we have this outlet, right? And that is hooked up to router. So any one of these children could be replaced with that, are going to replace that outlet depending on the page that you're on. And then outlet can actually take a single prop called context. And right here, the outside magenta curly braces are to say that's, a React escape clause. And then inside, I'm actually giving it an object. I'm giving that object two values, two key value pairs, feedback and set feedback. And those are coming from here. Those are coming from this use state. So I made a use state. I gave it a default value of empty. That's what feedback is going to hold. And then set feedback will allow us to update that value. And so because it's shared like this in the context, anything that replaces outlet will have access to it.
So you're like, that's essentially a replacement for props because you can't use props.
Exactly. So basically, because one would hope maybe props would work. Props does not work with outlet. If I tried to pass a prop like, X equals hello, let's say I tried to do something like that. If then within, let's say, home page, I were to say, props, and I were to say console.log props just to see what it is, we'll see. I'm going to go to the home page now. Let me open this up. Going to the home page, my props is empty. So you can't pass props to things that replace outlet. It doesn't work seemingly. It could have. That's just not how they chose to make it work. So that's not the way this works. Instead, outlet can take exactly one prop called context, pass it anything you want, including an object like this. And once you do that, if I go to home page can use this hook that's provided by React Router DOM called use outlet context. You call it like this at the top level, and it's replaced with whatever was passed in app here to the context. So now that object should have feedback and set feedback on it. And in this case, I just wanted to peel out feedback. And that means that my home page is going to show this is the home page. And then if there was feedback, it would show, looks like we got some feedback. So coming back here, I see the homepage has nothing on it right now. Let's look at contact us. This is what contact us looks like. And I can print hello world. That's my complaint. This isn't such a real world thing because, you'd probably want to hit submit, something like that. But when I type this, just to show how context works, if I type this, it's now reflected back here. So the question is, how does that work? Well, coming back here, I'll take that out. So we see that anything that replaces the outlet can use context. So anything that replaces the outlet includes not just the slash page, but also the slash contact us page. So the slash page, home page, uses feedback and it shows it if it's there. Whereas the contact us page, that also uses use outlet context, but it takes both of them out. And the reason it does that is so that it can fill in this text area. Text area is like an input. It's just allows you to resize it. And so in that case, I'm doing the same pattern we often see with React, where I tie the value to feedback, and then I tie the on change to updating, to calling set feedback on event.target.value. And what this does for us now is that every time the user types, feedback will get updated. And because feedback is actually defined in app.js and it's being passed to the context, every context shares it, or sorry, everything that can replace outlet shares it. So that's how I'm able to do this, where contact us can change. And if we go back to, let's say we go to about, well, about's not using it, but we go to home, it's still there. Now note, if I reloaded, this is an important difference between client and server-side routing. This client-side routing, we maintain that state. We're just going back and forth. Any change we make, the state is maintained. Whereas if I were to refresh my page, the state gets wiped out because we just got the website again, we reloaded it, and that state is going to start out as like, an empty string.
So whenever we're passing, or using the router to go between components, we're not going to be using props. But let's say we use the router to go to the home page, and home page always has embedded in it, details panel like we had in the other project. You could still establish props and pass them down from home page to details panel, as long as it's not being accessed through the router.
Absolutely, yes. So we could do that right now. Like outlet is something that is going to be aware of that router in order to replace it with one of those children. But if down here I just wanted to say, details panel, why not? There's something called details panel, and let's create that just so we could see it. And that might have some context, some content, like give it a really simple one. None of these are simple anymore. There we go. That one's still simple. So I'm going to replace the details panel with something like this. So we'll just show, first of all, this works. Someone started talking? No. Okay, so first of all, this works that, app, we're able to import a component like normal. So if nothing's being replaced, you can absolutely do that, where I'm going to say, import details panel. And then I show that details panel, and we'll see that in app. So app is going to render because it renders on all the pages. Outlet's going to render the home page if we're on slash, and details panel will render just like this on every page. So going back and forth between these, details panels there on every page. And then something I can show is that details panel, it can be passed props. So I could even say, feedback equals feedback. So even though it's not being provided this value through the context, still good. It can be provided the value through a prop. So it's outside of the context of outlet, of use outlet context, because it's not replacing outlet. But because it has access to this variable over here, you can just pass it as a prop. And now details panel, like normal, can take in that prop. And we called it feedback, right? So maybe I'll say details panel, and then right after that, props dot feedback. And now if I come back here, Okay, we see the details panel, but the feedback is empty. I go to contact us, I can update that. Hello world, and you see it update right there because the details panel is everywhere, and that'll be maintained. Noah, your brain is broken. That's not good. We don't want to do that. Code Platoon is not in the business of breaking brains. Needs a cast. Yeah, it's already very soft, I bet. Your skull is like the official cast. Okay, so can you guys give me some feedback or direction? Like, what's something we can talk about? Because I mean, at this point, if we don't have specific questions, I could just start walking through the beginning of like assignment 4, because that could be a video store part 4. Do we want to do that?
Like that idea.
I think it would help to see how we would like kind of change all the info we have into using the links instead of how they're displayed right now.
Oh, you're saying in this version or in video store part 4?
I'm assuming in video store part 4, we're probably going to be using links instead of what we had set up now. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah. So let me open that up. Just gonna grab my own version of it. Come back here. I already had one, but let me delete the one I already have. So this really is a new one. Okay, here we are. Because it's brand new, I have to do npm install. Looking at the packages, I already included Axios for you. Did I not include React Router DOM? I guess I did not. Did I mention that we should download it here? I did. So I guess I wanted you to practice that. Let's do that right now. npm install. So I can just do the I there, -- save React Router DOM. So I generally just call it React Router, but that's the name of the package, React Router DOM. Awesome. So we do npm run dev. Let's see it. Here's our site. It's broken. Let's see why it's broken. Well, I guess we don't have a reason why it's broken yet, but if I look at the array, this is all the array has right now. Is that right?
You're not doing an Axios get request anywhere.
I'm not. Okay, let me look in here. So why would I have taken that out? Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me.
Should we just use our one from Video Store 3?
Yeah, please do. I mean, I cannot imagine I took that out on purpose. And you're right, like this is looking for the inventory. I would expect that inventory would have done all that complicated stuff from yesterday to get it in there. If I were to, let's see for a second really quickly. I'm sorry that I can't, by the nature of GitHub Classroom, it's hard to update this stuff in real time. So even if I push changes, I'd have to make a new assignment, which can be done, but I'm gonna quickly check out the solution branch. And you'll actually notice here, it's not gonna let me do that because I have some stuff in there. So I don't really care about that stuff, but something good to know is that there's this thing called git stash, and that will basically take all your changes and stash them temporarily, and then you can get them out later by doing git stash pop, or maybe it's git pop. I'd have to look it up, but git stash is just going to let me forget about those changes now so that I can check out the solution branch. And now that I'm in the solution branch, I see this is in here, which is good. So right, I think I'm just going to copy paste this whole thing. So I'm gonna grab this whole thing here. I mean, I'm a little annoyed. I really might want to, I'm surprised it's not there in main. It's in the solution branch. I think I just messed up. And main just represents too early of a copy of it. But right, this will work. I just want to make sure. I mean, this is the whole solution. So really right now, I'm just going to grab some of this. I guess I want to keep that method around. I had some helpers, and then I ultimately had this. So yeah. I'm going to go back to main with that code I just copied. Let's get that going so I can close it. Okay, so looking back at main here, and actually this is not going to have that dependency anymore. So it's a good time to check if git stash pop works. It does. So now that dependency is back. So that's how you use git stash. You can just stash something temporarily and then bring it back. Okay, so coming back here, I'm going to go into app.jsx, and there was some stuff here I wanted to fix, and that stuff was over here. So let me try that. What do I have now? I have that API key. I have inventory set inventory. I have get inventory item by ID. I have this function that, given an ID and some data to update it, will update that inventory item. And then this use effect calls the API, updates each item by its ID. And I call that for each item. So let's just see, does this work right now? Some stuff at the lower level might break, but use effect is not defined, right? So I got to grab that. Let's try that again. Selected film is not defined at app. Right, it's looking for this stuff, and I don't quite have this stuff right now. So let me take that out. Okay, now we're back to some basic thing. Reference error is not defined at line 33. So small mistakes in here. Can we get this working? Axios is not defined. And are we currently, do we have Axios in here? We do. Okay, now we at least have it working again. We're not seeing anything, but if I print what I have, so I'm gonna console, oops, I don't want to do it there. I'll do it over here at the very end. Console.log the inventory, and I will save that and refresh. And I'll see that the inventory has all the data I want, and it just has to be filled in. So the way this works right now would be that, we would have that details panel, but I don't want to do it that way anymore. So the next thing to start doing, like we do have our data. If I looked inside my homepage, I'd ultimately want this inventory thing to work. And currently it's looking for set selected film and stuff. I don't want the selected film thing. I don't want that button. So that fixes that. And this is not quite working right now. So if I go in here, I might see, okay, each inventory item. I don't need to know that anymore. I don't need this on click, although I might want it to do something eventually. So maybe I'll leave it around. No, I'll just take it out for now. This is my inventory item. There's the title, there's the image URL, there's the copies available. But that's not what it's called anymore. So what I want to do, I believe, is this, where I'm saying get what is currently in there called title, name it for me title. And this was called poster, name it for me image URL, and copies available should be in there. I mean, I could have just as well, I guess in this case, it's a little simpler. Just replace this with title and poster and do that in both places here. Okay, at least I'm seeing my stuff now. Looks so ugly. I probably would want to do some CSS to make it look a little nicer. But now I want to hook up the React router stuff just to get this working, right? I'm gonna look at the chat quickly. Yeah, React has pretty good error messages. I appreciate it. Okay, so hooking up React router. Let's try and do this together. So first things first, got to create a router object. How do I do that? I'm in source. What do I want to make? I'll start us off. I'm going to make a new file called router.jsx. I'm going to make something in it called router, and I'm ultimately going to export it. So maybe I'll start with const router equals, right? Something. And then at the end, I'll say export default router. Okay, this router is going to use something from React router, and it's going to be called create browser router, create browser router. Okay, going to do something like this. Remember, it takes an array. We only want to give it that first thing. That first thing is going to have a path and an element. So my path is going to be slash, and my element, what do I want that to be? What should be the element that shows no matter what?
The app.
What was that?
App.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm going to go back to my router here, and I'm also going to import app. And that element that we're going to show no matter what is app. And let's just do that for now. So we're going to have this thing app, but we want to hook this up because we're just exporting router now. It's not being used anywhere. So main.jsx is our entry to everything. I don't want to import app anymore. Instead, I want to import this router. And I also want to import something from React router, which is called router provider. Okay. And now I'll replace this whole thing. How about we're going to have a router provider. It's an element like any other, but it takes this prop, and that's why I name it router. Okay, so now the router provider is going to be router aware, and it's going to match on slash to serve up app. Let's see that it's doing that. Refresh. On slash, it's seemingly serving up app. And what does app look like right now? Okay, app is referencing homepage directly. I don't think I want to do that. I'm going to take that out for now. So we still have this context thing, but we're not giving it anything. And I'll take this out. And if this is my main page, that's where I'm doing all this logic over here. What do I want to actually pass it that's going to replace any given page? It's going to come from React router DOM. It's our element that replaces
Outlet.
Exactly. So I'm going to be able to say outlet like that. And it automatically got it for me. Great. I'll move it up here because I like to have all my imports from, libraries before I do my own stuff. So that's outlet, but that's not fully hooked up yet because router needs what? Router needs another thing called, anyone remembers?
Context.
What was that?
Context.
Well, in this case, first, in order to mess with the outlet, it's going to have children. So what's going to get replaced in, let me open up the right one. What's going to get replaced in app is going to replace outlet. So in order to replace something in outlet, we need to provide it children. Children is going to be another array. So what's the child that we want to replace on exactly slash, and how do we do that? So on that main page, we want to show the home page, I would say.
Homepage. Yeah.
Yeah, so our element is going to be not that home page, which it doesn't seemingly know about. So let's import it. Doesn't seemingly know about it at all. What's going on here? Import homepage from /. components slash homepage. Sometimes it knows, sometimes it doesn't. But in order to get it to actually like match, so it's currently matching slash, but what do we want to match in addition to slash? Do we want to match slash home, or what do we want to match? We want to match exactly slash. So that's special. In that case, we say index true. So now what's going to happen is this is our main thing, from home, or sorry, from main, we have this router provider. It's getting the router. Inside router, that's where we define everything. So on slash, we will see app. And on exactly slash, we'll register the child as homepage. So if I now look in app, we are grabbing this context. We're doing all this stuff. We assume it's going to happen once. And then, we have this context thing. So that's probably not the way we want to do it anymore, but that's okay. Actually, I think this would work. But we have outlet here. So outlet is going to be replaced with homepage, and let's see it. Yeah, outlet is currently being replaced with homepage. So most of what we're going to want you to do now is that when you click something, we want to navigate to not homepage, but maybe, slash film slash that ID. And we want to make it so that when you go to slash film slash that ID, you go to the page working with exactly that ID. And you could use params to grab that ID. So before I maybe set it up to like hook it up, I could say, I'm going to go into router and I'm going to say, there's another thing here. And it looks like path. And that path will be film maybe. And then I'll just say ID. And its element will be something newish. I'll probably change this. I would want to change this from like details panel to details page. But let's see if I can do that. Let's see if we're actually, I want to leave some of this for you. So I could hook it up to be the details page, but it's going to get pretty confused because it's expecting all this stuff and it's expecting it from context. Maybe we want to use outlet context instead. So this is the assignment I was a little worried about because it's the most refactoring of things to get it right, which I know can be frustrating and is giving me the sense that maybe next time we do this, I would make these a little less build one from one day to the other, because we really want you to practice the skill as opposed to practice refactoring, although that's also an important skill. But yeah, looking at the README, your first step is to integrate React Router DOM and make it serve up, the homepage using app plus outlet on slash. Then you're probably going to want to change things from use context to use outlet context. And I'll remind you, all this is not just in the day's lecture material, but also in the cheat sheet. Then homepage, we don't want it to render a details panel. Maybe we want to render a film page. We don't want to do it inside of homepage. Rather, we want it that when we click one of those things in homepage, when we click an inventory item, we navigate to slash film ID, and you would use that with the use navigate hook. Then we will update inventory item so that when we click it, it redirects to the right film page. And then film page, we would want to add some kind of back button. So that would be a link that when you click it would return you back to the home page. There's a fair amount there. It's 2 p.m. now. I do want people to get started, but I'm going to run around to all the rooms today. And then also I will just, you can grab it from yesterday and do yesterday's thing, but I recognize that this whole bunch of functionality here, I suppose I could just, how about I will just, you know what? No, the whole thing. I'm going to grab this whole thing here and mention it in Slack because it is missing right now. I'm going to jump very quickly because I kind of have to use the bathroom, just had lunch. So I would say go into your rooms now, and I'll be coming into each room and making sure that we get this working. Sounds good? Look at chat quick. All right, I'm going to jump quickly, but I'll be right back. And I'm going to stop sharing this. And if I want to